Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. I'm going to show you today how I have processed this synth line that you can see here in light blue, and I'll just show you a few techniques that I am using, and then I'll show you how to make it sound huge with this new melody here, so you can see from the start how to kind of thicken out your melody lines. So as you can see, we have 6 synth layers. The one in a slightly different blue is more of a background Atmos ambient track, which really is just pulsing some of the background. And what that's going to do is give you that endless reverb sound that you get in the background without the synth sounding washed out. There are other tricks. You can use sidechain compression to obviously, so every time the notes hit on the melody, there is no reverb, and then it all floods back in after the notes have hit. But when you've got a bit of a faster melody, and like this one here, let's just listen to this. There's so many notes in there, the reverb's never going to actually come back in, because the bass is running in parallel with the lead line. So I just want to show you what this sounds like, and then we'll start looking at how to make it huge, and then I'll show you the chain of effects I've used as well. This is a work in progress still. I'll let you listen to when it actually drops, and then we'll start to look at the other synth. Okay, so that is what we're going to recreate. We're going to use a different melody, obviously, so I can show you creating it from scratch. And let's go over here, so where it's already looped. So there's a lot of stacking going on, and there is a lot of different synth presets, and then they've all individually been processed, and then they've been put through a synth bus, which then houses some more effects chain. So let's have a look at what we have here. So I've just made this melody line. Okay, very, very simple, couple of misplaced notes, but I don't mind the sound of them. These are meant to be here, but it does sound quite nice there, so we'll leave it for now. There's a nice melody idea there, but there's nothing much happening. So I've got all these other tracks here, and I can just simply copy these to the other tracks. So obviously all the stuff on the synth tracks is not helping in any way to understand how that sounds before the processing. So what we'll do is we'll turn the inserts off, and then everything in my lead section here, we will turn the inserts off. And then we can walk through these later. Okay, so we've got a nice sound. Even with everything turned off, it sounds pretty sweet, but we can do better. And this is what we're going to do here. Just checking that pluck wasn't part of the main sequence. I don't think it is, no. Okay, right, so what we have is some presets from Spire, I think, if we just look on here. We've got Silent there, we've got Spire there, and I think all rest of Spire. Spire there, oh, that was Silent, and Spire again. So they're the presets that I'm using, and all I've done is stacked these same sections up, and automatically these three layers, if we look at the mixer here, you can see that I've just done a little bit of blending there, and there's a little bit of reverb already on it, but we'll leave that there. And yeah, it's creating some nice sound already. And what I tend to do is pick out some of the synths that are beefier and some of that are thinner. And the thinner ones will add the top crispiness, and the ones that have got a little bit more dynamic range in terms of they have a bit more bass in as well. I will use them to kind of create a little bit of weight underneath. So let's find one of the thicker ones. There's one. And typically what I'll tend to do is, if we just zoom in a tad there. So I would advise actually to, if you want to get the MIDI, I'll put it in the description. You can follow along on this. A little bit late to the video, but if you wanted to follow along, go and grab the MIDI and just pull up some synths. Don't matter what they are, as long as like you've got some super saws and a few plucks in there, and then we'll take it from there. What I'll do is I'll double the melody up a little bit. And double the bass up. So I have a really low down section here. We take this away. It thins back out. It sounds like it's got a bit of weight, but that gives it a little bit more of emotion and feeling. So that all sounds good, and I think it's this one that's got a bit more weight. No, that's a square. There's the other one. Now, this is what I do the same here, but what I'm going to do is throw that up one. So that's up 1 octave. Copy the bass pattern again, and drop that down 2 octaves. Maybe throw that down an octave as well. And all I'm doing is doubling things up. And you can go absolutely crazy. If you wanted to put these in 3 layers, you can do. But what we're going to do is use the thicker sounds on the lower end of the spectrum. So we have these two doing the lower parts. And then on the top part here, this is where I change it up. So that up an octave. So I don't really want any weight from this one. And we'll have 2 octaves on the main top melody. And then if we add these 2 in, sorry, not that one, and that one. It's not that one, is it? It's this one. It starts to sound a little bit thicker. Now, what this one is going to add is we're going to add some presence. Now, this is very straight to the point. There's hardly any effects really resonating on there, so it's quite raw. And we've just got the minimal happening, so I'm just going to copy and paste that and chuck that up an octave. So that's giving our sparkle. Now the square lead originally on this track was a separate lead line that kind of operated on the top, but it did get changed, but I don't have the bass in there. So let's... So this square has got a little bit of a pitch bend on the start of it. So it's from my pack. You can grab this on my website. It's the only Sylenth pack on there, I think. Trance Essentials, I think, or Essential Trance or something like that. And it's really bad that I don't know the name of my own pack. But it's on the website, and the link is always in the description to the packs. So this is called LD Super Square, and it doesn't come with the pitch bending on it, but all you have to do is add it to mod envelope 2 and assign it to pitch A and B. Just turn the nodule up a little bit and then just tweak it till it sounds nice to you. And it's got a bit of porto on there as well. So it adds a little bit more definition to the sound. So if we play the sound without this one and this one, which we've just edited, we have a thick sound, but it's got a weaker approach. Sounds nice, probably great for a build-up, but we want some power into that now. So we've got the kind of the beauty aspect, we want the raw power, and that is where this will come in. Okay, and then the square will add that extra on top. So what I'm going for is I don't want to hear this sound, I want it to support the rest of the melodic sequence. Now it is a little bit low, so I am going to throw it up, and that will brighten up the top end a little bit. So let's mute it. Just about hear it sparkling on that top line. Right, so we've built our melody section there using the presets, and we've turned everything off on the mixer, so it's time to look at how I process each one. So this is the pluck, and as you can see I've done the usual. It's all the gain controlling, making sure the levels are right throughout. Video on screen now if you don't know about the gain staging, and so we'll just put that on. And then we go through the EQ, and I've just removed a problem frequency here. It's a whole section where the original melody operated on the other synth, the other melodic line. So these kind of cuts aren't going to be applying to this one because it's all in a different key, and you're not going to have those same problem areas, but tailor it to where it needs to be. If you have an issue with a frequency, cut it out. And I've done a boost in the kind of central, different language, central, getting really posh there. I've boosted the central mids and the upper mids, and then just done a bit of a roll off to get rid of those really harsh high frequencies that your ears don't really want to have to deal with, and rolled off some of the bottom end. All this unwanted frequency down here. So okay, so with this being a different patch, I seem to be exceeding the -6, but just do your gain staging, balance it out so it's coming out of the other side beautifully. And then it goes through Velo 2, which has gone into trial mode, but essentially all I'm doing there is enhancing the transient detail in there. So for some reason I can't activate that, so we'll look at that later on. So we've got the main aspect of our sound. That's all we need to do for that one. Nothing, no compression, nothing like that. Then we have our secondary mellow. This is the Atmos one, so we'll look at that after. Okay, so like the powerhouse of the track. First of all, we add a little bit of EQ, similar boosts, but boosting some of the mid details, so you get a little bit of a sharper central section to that frequency. So prior to that, so it's providing power, but I've made it deliberately thin because we already had the other two in place. So these have been mixed in context with each other. I've already picked prior with the ones that I wanted to sound thinner. Then a little bit of compression from this bus compressor, and it's just a very minor ratio, little bit of reduction there, and I'm not adding any actual transient punch or anything there, just to keep all the peaks under control, just because it's on the higher end and the preset's a little bit more flappy than I'd expect. And then we have a limiter, just to bring it up to volume a little bit better. Just gives it a little bit more power and a bit more body. And again, that is everything for that track. Bit of synth reverb there as well. This is where the magic happens for the sparkle. So first things first, EQ. Again, this problem frequency will be in a different location if you had one. It's not a necessity, but I have boosted here, and as you can see, they're a little bit different. I have boosted in the central area, but it's more focused on the right-hand side of that central section. And then here it's a bit lower than the others, which are up here. And that's just to give it a little bit of power and fill in some of the gaps the other ones aren't filling. So essentially I'm overlapping my EQ curves, so they're not all in the same place, boosting exactly the same place. Then we go through some reverb. So you can see I haven't routed this through to the synth reverb. I want this to be processed differently and have a little bit more sparkle, but under control. And I'm going to do a kind of a video on Pro R because it's quite a complex plugin in terms you've got EQ and then you've got your decay rate here, so you can control how fast or slow it decays. You can boost it to make it decay for longer. And there's so much stuff you can do to certain frequencies, but you can see I've just cut some of the mids out there. It kind of comes like this as a preset, and then just tweak the top bits. Okay, and then moving on to the next one, we have some compression, and this is just to control the peaks. So let's put the display on. And it's bringing out that lower detail, some of the reverbs and the delay. And generally evening the sound out. Then we go through this saturator here, and all I'm doing is honing the frequency, you can see there, changing the tone, all dependent on the track, of course, and there's no drive on there, and then just balance the output. So it's a little bit flat, that adds a little bit of crispiness to it, and that is all good. This is the free version, so it's stuck on the 1950s saturation preset, but it sounds so good in my trance stuff. And then we just have the, let's just go here, the Soundspot Fat filter here, just set to low pass, so I can control that independently to the rest of the synths. Then we are moving on to the raw power. So first things first, a little bit of gain control there, and then we have some compression just to control those peaks. So when I say it's raw, it is extremely raw. There is no processing whatsoever. It's as it comes out of the synth, and just a little bit of processing to keep it as dry and crisp as possible. A little bit of synth reverb on there as well. And again for this one. And then this one is your power, and you can see there's only one preset on here. Here we are. Again, similar boosts, a little bit of mid boost in here, and we got some serious clipping going on there. But that is shaping that sound and giving you some of the top end focus again on your track. So we have all three main sections and some of the plucks sorted. We have the Atmos, so let's just add that in. And what this is doing is playing exactly the same melodic line, and instead of, it originally went through the synth reverb and then I sent it through Tal reverb because I like the way Tal washes over everything so easily. So first things first, a little bit of gain control to get it down to level, then cutting out the low frequencies. Again, this was a problematic area in the previous synth, and obviously I'm not changing these settings because it's my actual track that I'm working on. So a little bit of a boost in the similar areas again, and a roll off, and that's just to stop the reverb muddying up your sound, because there's going to be so much decay on the reverb. You don't want that kind of low rumble constantly rumbling through your track. It's just going to destroy everything. Then we have Tal reverb, free reverb, and these are the settings. Cut out the lows, shelved off the mids a little bit there. So you can hear the decay rate. If you had that all rumbling through with bass in there as well, it'd just ruin the track. Then we have kickstart, just to pump it out the way. And of course that's going to be changing to evade because that is now my new go-to sidechainer. And then with a little bit of saturation. You can see I've cut out a lot of the bass, so this is really going to make this sparkle. And you suddenly get that nice flooded reverb in the background. And what happens? You can hear how flat it goes. Just listen again. I'll re-enable it when it starts. It just fills up that background, and you technically only going to hear it in the headphones. And with this particular melody, I probably could boost the volume just a tad, but this is not the melody for the track. So we have quite a big section of synth there, and it still doesn't sound quite right. And that is because on our synth bus down here, this channel here, we have all of this going on. First, we have Fab Filter. So just some basic boosting, roll off on the highs there about to 14 Hertz because it was hurting my ears. And we have a little bit of a cut here. Don't know what's happening here. This looks like a wrong move. Then we have some bus compression. Now this is where the synths become kind of one sound rather than 6 different ones. With this particular layout, might need to change the settings. Again, I'm not going to change them, but this is generally what I do. As you can see, we've got a fairly slow attack, and the makeup gain is just boosted a tad, but that's just based on the output gain. We've got a straight down 4:1 ratio, and then a fairly quick release there. So let's just have a listen to it whilst it's not on, and then we'll turn it on. So the best way to describe it, the synth sounds sound a little bit smoother than they do when the compressor is off. They sound a little bit more transient and stabby. So only slightly, but it's just gluing everything together ready for the next stages. Now we have our Evade plugin. And as if you've already seen my Evade review, this is now my new go-to plugin. So you can see that on screen now. It's just doing the sidechain, but you've got these sections here where you can bypass the sidechain out of these frequency areas. So you can create a little bit of sparkle by not actually sidechaining the absolute highs on there. So before it's on, you can see that high detail is coming through. If we turn this off, you can hear how those higher details come through, and that is where the sparkle is started to be added back in and make these synths sound a lot bigger. And then everything else like half amount, and I'm using this automated on the amount so we can cut it out for the build-up section. Then it's just fat on here again, just with a high pass, and this blurs out the synths in the build. Then we have some multiband compression, so you can use anything you want. I'm using SoundSpot, and the reason for that is all these plugins are super cheap. So go and have a look, and they do a really good job. And what this is split up into 4 bands. And to make the bass part of the synth sound a little bit more powerful and stronger, I've honed in this using the mid and side feature that comes with this one. So as you can see, imaging wise, the spread has been reduced to -100 and the mid gain just a little bit up, and then just a tad of compression to keep it under control. So let's have a listen to this band first. So if I bypass this now, you'll hear how wide the low end starts to become. You can hear it's lost all its power, there's no central detail whatsoever. And now you can hear there's a lot of central detail. And that's going to help to boost your lows in your synths, but not to the point where they are conflicting with your bass. Then on the second channel, this frequency range here from about 120-ish hertz to about 600, I'd say. As you can see on the metering, a little bit of reduction on the spread, nothing too drastic, and then just compression for giving it that upwards feel. So it's kind of boosting it, really. Then we have the mid-range, which is where most of the power comes from. So again, a little bit of spread that has been increased this time, and a bit of mid-gain. Topped off with a little bit of compression just to keep it under control. Just pushes it out into the stereo field a little bit more. And then the highs. So you can see the settings there, a little bit of spread. Then a little bit of compression to kind of bring the levels up. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Thought it wasn't doing anything. So they go a little bit more centralised. So there's a lot more mid-detail till you increase the side spread. And then overall, you have this. So you've lost the power in the lower ends, and then when it comes back on, you have that driving force. Now you can use a lot of different plugins for that, but that one is the go-to one for me just because of the ease of use of separating the side and mids out. And then it goes through some gain reduction just to keep the audio levels under control. And then finally through an EQ, which looks like there's a lot of work going on here. And it's really just the final shapes of the sound. So I've rolled off the lower end just to get rid of the rumble. That is added back from all the compression, especially from the multiband, just adding a lot of detail back in there. Then again, this is my problem frequency area, just to bring it under control with a bit of dynamic. Doesn't apply to this melody, obviously. And then I've done a little bit of a mid scoop because the mids got a little bit intense, and by reducing it in the multiband, you lost the power of some of the frequencies in this section. So decided just to cut it a little bit there, and then boost the mids and the sides here just to add that last bit of sparkle in there. So this is what it sounds like prior to the Pro Q3. And then this is what it sounds like with it on. So it enhances the top end, but not to the level that it's really harsh. And that gives you a nice solid foundation for your synths just to operate on their own. As you can see, I have a sub bass down here, and what we're going to do is we'll copy this, and this is what I do in the actual track as well. So if we create a sub bass track, here we are. So just add like a little bit of extra low end. We could go a bit lower there. So there we have it. That is how I would build that style of synth layer up using the 6 layers there, 5 main layers and 1 ambient level layer here too. And just to quickly recap, we've taken one synth idea, which is just this bit highlighted. It was the bass and the synth lead line, doubled it up on multiple tracks in different octaves. So this is a lot lower. This one is a lot higher. And that just gives you a nice broad spread across the frequency spectrum, and then you can actually control it then with all of the EQ and the compression that we've just gone through. As you can see, you don't have to go crazy on some of these tracks. Like if you look at the first one, we've only got 2 things on there. Velo, if I actually activated it. And then on this one, we just have 1. Just some EQ just to bring it under control with some of the frequencies. And just to keep the raw power of it. And then the synth lead bus here actually adds the magic and keeps it under control and just gives it that sparkly feeling. Okay, that wraps up the video. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and also drop me a comment and let me know if that's helped you out a lot, because I've gone into a lot more detail than I usually would on certain things like that in such a... It's a lot longer, this video, so people are wanting longer videos and it helps them. Finally, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon, and I upload 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And just quickly to let you know, this synth line and effects chain that you've just seen today here is the same that I used in the fan-made MIDI trance build that I did yesterday from Sam. That is the exact same effects chain and same synth presets. I just literally copied it out of here into a new project, and then we added the MIDI into it. So hopefully that will give you a bit of insight into how that was made as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.